Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode on J of All Trades. Today I'm standing in my daughter's room. I have two daughters, one is 3, one is 6. And here you can see they have a nice space here so far. And we've actually done a few things in this room already. We've done some nice wallpaper here. We've done some pink walls and we've done some other things here and there. But we want to take this room to the next level and we want to step it up and give them the dream room that we've always wanted for our daughters. So here you're going to notice that we have some dated blinds. We're going to be changing those blinds out, and we have one here and we have another one in the back here. So as you can see, it's just a complete tan color compared to the white border that you see around it. So we're gonna swap that out, put something more modern looking. Now, we're also gonna be changing these beds. Our daughters have been asking for a bunk bed for the longest while, and so we're gonna be getting them a nice bunk bed. And we're gonna put it up against this wall here, and we're gonna get rid of these two beds. One is a crib, one is a bed. And we're also gonna be just kind of restructuring the room to have more of a better flow and feel for them. Now, we're also going to be doing some more things over here. We're going to be brightening up this dresser here and repainting it. We're also going to be removing all the carpet throughout this room, and we're going to be replacing it with luxury vinyl plank. This will give the floor a fresh look, and it will also help with dust control because, as we all know, carpet can harvest a lot of dust, and by removing it, we'll be able to improve the air quality in this room. And we're also going to be replacing all the dated outlets. As you can see, this one here has a very different color to the wall itself, so we're going to be replacing that. All right, guys, so join me on this journey as we transform this entire space. So let's begin. The first thing I did was I removed both beds as well as the little tiny dresser there, and now it gives us enough space to be able to tackle this carpet. So we're going to be ripping out this entire carpet here on the floor, and we're going to give this entire floor a makeover. To begin removing the carpet, I'll be grabbing a corner here and pulling it back, and I'm using a channel lock to help me to get some leverage here. And I'll be using this Hercules stainless steel multifunction knife. It's great for cutting carpet, and I'll be using this oscillating tool as well. I'll include a link in the description if you guys want to check these out. And basically I put it in an angle like this so I'll be able to cut the carpet easily. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how easy it is to cut carpet with this tool. The easiest way to get rid of this carpet is by cutting strips of it, and I usually do about 3 to 4 feet wide, and I go straight along with this tool. And as you can see, it's very easy to cut with this oscillating tool here, and you can also use a very sharp blade as well, but I find this tool to work very fast. Once you've cut a full strip of the carpet, you can pull it out, and then you'll be able to just roll it up and then tie it. I find this to be the quickest and easiest way to get rid of this stuff because once you roll it up and tie it, you're all prepared and set for garbage day. All you have to do is just put it out on your bulk day, or if you have a dumpster, you can just throw it in there and you're all set to go. To remove the layer of sponge underneath the carpet, you can use a sharp blade and cut the carpet to manageable sizes, and then you can just simply roll it up and tie it. One thing that you'll immediately notice when you're removing this stuff is that there's quite a bit of dust that lays under this stuff. So I'm really happy that we're getting rid of this and replacing it with something that's better for dust control. Once I completely removed the carpet on one side of the room, I was able to shift the dresser over and then continue working. It made it a lot easier to keep the dresser in the room instead of removing it completely. If you'd like to optimize your workflow and work a little bit more efficiently here, you can cut the width of the sponge exactly where you cut the carpet and just put it in the carpet and roll it up. This actually helps to minimize the dust coming off of the sponge as well. After you fully remove all the carpet and the sponge, you're going to be removing these tack strips. These are wood strips with nails, and they're used to hold wall-to-wall carpet in place. You want to be very careful when handling them because they're very sharp and can stick you pretty badly. Here I'm just using a long crowbar to just winch them up, and you want to look for the bigger nail head that actually secures it to the floor, and then use the crowbar exactly where that nail head is and just pry it up. Now that I've gotten all the tack strips out, we need to remove all of these staples that were holding the sponge down. Now in order to remove it, I'm using this oscillating tool along with a metal blade to cut through these staples. Now some of the staples actually pop right up and come right out very easily, and this saves a lot of time and effort. You can also do this the old-fashioned way with a needle nose plier or even a flathead screwdriver and a hammer, but it'll take you a really long time to do. Once I finish removing all the staples, I'm able to now give this floor a good sweep and remove all the debris off of the floor. Before I start laying down my brand new flooring, I'm going to take the opportunity to do anything that could potentially mess up my flooring. So here, I'm just taking the opportunity to do some touch-ups on this crown molding here. As you can see, they had some creases and I'm using some caulking to just fill it in. And these little tiny details make a huge difference in the appearance. I'm also going to replace all these dated outlets here. And here, I'm just testing to make sure the power is off before I open this up. And once I ensure that the power is off, I can now start taking everything apart, and I'll be able to now remove all the wiring off of here and put in a brand new outlet. Here you want to identify what is your line and what is your neutral and also your ground. Since these wires are long enough, I can just simply cut them off and still have enough length to install the brand new outlet. Here is a closer look at this dated outlet. As you can see, there's some paint on there and the color doesn't go very well with the wall. As you can see, the white looks a lot better against the wall. First, we're going to prep the wires here by stripping off a little piece on the insulation. Now we're going to install the ground, and this goes to the green screw at the bottom here. And you're going to be installing your neutral wire on the side that has silver. So here we have silver screws, so we're going to be putting it on this side. And here I'm using the compression hole in the back of the outlet. And on this side, we're putting the line into the gold screw side. So that's how you'll be able to tell whether it's the line or the neutral side. The color of those screws will either be silver or gold. Again, the silver side is your neutral and the gold side is your line. Here is an old connection for cable television, and we no longer have cable. We actually do streaming throughout our house, and so we're going to be just discontinuing this entire box here. As you can see, this is a coax cable, and you could use this for like DirecTV or a satellite dish, but we're going to be closing this hole up. So here I'm just taking some measurements to get the right size of sheetrock. And now I can take this piece of sheetrock and trace around it. And this will give me a cutout for this piece of sheetrock to fit perfectly in there. When you're finished tracing your piece of sheetrock, you'll be able to just remove the excess and remove the box right out of there. Here I'll be using this oscillating tool to do some plunge cuts straight into this sheetrock. And this makes it very easy to do plunge cuts and remove this piece. I strongly advise you to use an old blade to do this because this sheetrock has a tendency to ruin the brand new metal blades. So here I noticed that this box is actually nailed into this stud. So I'm able to just pry it away from the stud. And now I'm able to just pull the box right out. And I'm gonna be leaving this wire in the wall and it's just gonna be buried there. In order to give the new piece of sheetrock some backing, you're gonna need to put a piece of wood right across the opening. And here I'm just gonna use some sheetrock screws here to secure the wood into the existing sheetrock. Keep in mind that if you have a larger opening, you can always put multiple pieces of wood to create a proper support for a larger piece of sheetrock. Now you can take the piece of sheetrock and fit it perfectly into that space, and you can secure it with 2 sheetrock screws. Since this piece is so tiny, you want to really take your time and not put too much force against this piece of sheetrock or it will break. Now that we have this piece installed, we're going to clean around the edges and ensure that there's no debris sticking out to interfere with the compound that we'll put on here. Before applying compound, we're going to apply this compound tape on all the joints, and this is going to actually help to reinforce the seams, the corners and joints between drywall panels. And we're going to be using it on this piece as well, so we can have a seamless, crack resistant surface so we can sand and paint right over it with no issues. Now you can apply the first layer of compound right over it, and once we put this compound layer here, we'll be able to add a second layer and then sand. I'll be removing this existing shelf here, and I'll be replacing them with 2 shelves later on, but for now I'm going to be removing all the screws and all the anchors, and I'll be sealing up these holes with compound, and I'll be sanding and painting this entire wall. To plug these holes, be sure to remove any debris sticking out first and then apply your compound. The next thing you'll want to do before installing your flooring is to paint anything that needs to be painted. This way, if anything drips on the floor, it won't affect your brand new flooring. In this case, I'm applying a fresh coat of white paint on my crown molding here, and it's already making the crown molding look brand new. Next, I'm applying some white paint to my baseboards here, and we're gonna go all the way around, and we're not gonna worry about getting paint on the wall itself because we'll be repainting that. We'll be using a much lighter color than the existing pink that is on this wall, and the pink that we're gonna be using is almost very close to white, and we think it'll fit the space a lot better. I also added a fresh coat of paint on the ceiling. If you have recessed lighting like I do, you can simply just drop them down and you'll be able to avoid painting those light fixtures, and it makes it a whole lot easier to just take a roller and go right around them. Here's a handheld paint edger that I use, and this is designed to paint crisp straight lines along wall edges, ceilings, baseboards without the need for any time-consuming painter's tape. And it has some wheels on them, and these guide wheels actually keep the painting pad spaced exactly 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch away from the adjacent piece. Here you can see that I'm using it up against this corner here, and this is going to help me to avoid putting paint on my wallpaper as well as this trim. The secret to using the edger is to put very little amount of paint on it, and it will avoid it getting any paint on the adjacent piece. Here I'm putting a fresh coat of paint all around, and this is a very light pink, and although it's a little bit difficult to see in the video, it has a very tiny hint of pink that interacts well with our wallpaper and also the decor that we're planning to put in the space. We are also covering up the darker pink on these walls with this paint as well, and this will give us the look that we're going for. I have the second coat of compound on the piece that we patched earlier, and we're just gonna paint around it, and then once we sand, we can just paint right over it. One thing to note here is that when you're painting over a much darker color with a lighter color, you're most likely going to need a second coat over it to fully cover up that darker color. And that's exactly what I'll need to do here, because I can actually see some of the darker pink poking through this lighter pink. It's amazing how a fresh coat of paint can actually transform an entire space. Even if you just want a new look in your room and you're not really changing anything much except the color of the paint in the room, it can make a huge difference in the way it appears. Once I completed all the painting on the walls, I was able to now put all the covers over my outlets, and this is looking really good. It's the perfect upgrade to allow these to blend into the wall, unlike the ones that we had before where they were a completely different color. Now it's time to refresh this entire dresser, give it a fresh coat of paint, repaint the knobs gold, and I'm going to be doing most of the work in this room here because the floor is exposed and I'll be able to fully paint this without worrying about damaging the floor. First thing I'll do is I'll remove all the knobs and hardware from the drawers. Then I'll remove all the drawers so they can all be repainted separately. Now I'll be able to paint the entire surface of this dresser with a fresh coat of paint. It's always a good idea to give it a little light sanding so that the paint can adhere to the surface. To paint the knobs, I took them down to the garage because I'll be using spray paint to paint these knobs gold. Now here, I'll be using this metallic Rust-Oleum spray paint, and I'm going to include a link in the description if you want to check that out. But this thing is great. You get a very shiny metallic finish, and what's amazing is you get this reflective coat of paint that just really cuts through. And this is the look that we're going to be going for our dresser. Keep in mind that you can also find this metallic type of spray paint in different colors. For example, if you prefer silver, then you can get that. Once all the paint is dry, I'm able to now reinstall everything and put everything back to the way it was. One thing to note here is that when you're doing this, you want to be gentle and be careful with any tools because it's very easy to mess up the finish on this furniture. Now that I've revamped everything on this dresser, everything looks nice and fresh, and we've got that nice gold finish on those knobs, and this is all set to go. Now we're ready to install the flooring. One of the things that you really want to make sure before you install any LVP is to make sure that the floor is level. And thankfully, my entire floor is level and everything is all cleaned up and ready to go. You also want to double check for any debris and make sure that you remove it. The luxury vinyl plank that I'll be installing is by Duralux, and I actually got this from Floor & Decor. It's 5 millimeters thick, and this already has the pad built into it, so you don't need an underlayment. This particular flooring is called Paisley Cape, and I particularly like the way that wood grain has been modeled on these pieces. It really looks believable that this looks like actual plank. Now here you can see that the width is almost 8 inches wide, and the length of the plank itself is almost 49 inches long. So this really covers quite a bit of flooring when you start laying this out. When you begin installing this flooring, you want to make sure that you have at least 1/8 spacing between the wall on all sides, and you want to make sure that the first set that you lay down is perfect, because every other plank that you put after this will be dependent on how well you've set up that first row. So I usually spend quite a bit of time just making sure that this first row is perfect. Most people use spacers, but I'm pretty comfortable with working with this stuff. And I also have a gap underneath the baseboard itself, so that also helps for expansion. The main thing is that you leave enough space for expansion, because nothing will be shifting out of place when it has room to expand. Here I'm using a square and a very sharp blade to score this, and once it's scored properly, we can then flip it over and just break it. And we'll pass our knife right at the break point, and we're all set to go. This makes all the straight cuts very easy to do, and it makes the workflow a lot more seamless. I recommend using a rubber mallet to tap this in, and here I'm just angling this in and tapping very lightly with the rubber mallet to fit it in place. When starting another row, you really want to offset about 6 to 8 inches to stagger the planks in order to prevent them from moving, shifting, or coming out of place. It makes the floor a lot more stable when you offset the joints. Here you can see that I'm flipping this the other direction in order to get my measurement, and I just score it right here, and then I flip it over, snap it, and cut it. And now I can flip this over here again and simply just fit it in. And this makes it easy to measure without using a tape measure. Once you have a lot of straight cuts, this actually moves pretty quickly. As you can see here, I'm starting with a shorter piece to offset it, and then I'll continue with the longer pieces until I get to the end. Now this is pretty straightforward. I just kept on going until I reached to the other side of the room, and I continued until I finished the job. You can always use a jigsaw to do any intricate cuts or any cuts around corners. I find that to be very useful in tight situations. If you have to rip a piece completely straight through, I find that the table saw is a better option, but I'll recommend using a very fine teeth on your blade and make sure you go very slowly. This will ensure you get a very clean cut without damaging your piece. Here is a tool called a contour gauge, and it consists of a frame packed tightly with these thin sliding plastics or metal pins. Now when you press the tool against an object, the pin actually shifts to perfectly mimic that object's shape. And this I've used to cut very intricate cuts, and it just does it really good around corners. I'll include a link in the description for you guys in case you want to go out there and check it out. And here you can see how I was able to cut this piece and perfectly fit it into this corner here. So this is a tool that you can possibly add to your arsenal of tools, and it's very helpful when you need it. You can also use a pull bar here to pull in the corners and tighten up the joints. Now that the flooring is in place, I'm able to now cover up the corners with some quarter round. And I'm going to include a link in the description for this particular brad nailer that I'm using to secure this quarter round. This is an 18 gauge Ryobi brad nailer, and this is called the Airstrike. When you're securing the quarter round, you want to make sure that you secure it into the baseboard or into the subflooring. You don't want to secure it into your LVP because it will prevent it from expanding and contracting. This flooring is actually meant to be floating, and it needs to be able to move by itself without having nails securing it. This quarter round really helps to give this a finished look, and it fully covers up any gap between the wall and the floor. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down in the section below and let me know what you feel about this flooring. Personally, the lighter color makes the room feel a lot brighter. It's time to now get rid of these old, dated blinds. Today, I'll be installing cordless 2-inch wood blinds, and these are flush mount blinds, but you can also get them outside as well. It all depends on your window and also the style that you're looking for. I find the 2-inch model to look much more updated and modern. Here is a decorative face that just snaps right into these clips here, and that gives it a nice, clean, finished look. And of course, that cordless feature really makes it a lot easier to operate this blind, and it eliminates the annoying string that you'd have to deal with. If you really like this blind and you'd like to get them, I'm going to include a link in the description, and you can actually order whatever size of blind that you need for your particular window. Now it's time to surprise my daughters with a beautiful bunk bed, and I'm going to be including a link in the description for this particular bunk bed that I'll be setting up today. I'm also going to release a separate video to show you guys exactly how I assemble this entire bed, but we're going to skip to the end and I'll show you some features here. First, I really love the drawers that this thing comes with. Not only do you get drawers at the bottom, but you also get drawers on all the steps, so there's a lot of storage included in this entire bunk bed. I also like the way that the bed really fits into the space, and it really connects well with the wall and the wallpaper. All the new blinds, as well as the updated outlets, also give this room a fresh new look, and it's time to add a little decor to take this to the next level. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install these blackout curtains. If you'd like to check out these curtains, I'll include a link in the description so you can check it out as well. First, I installed the brackets for the curtains, and we chose to go with a gold finish for the curtain rod and brackets, and this will tie into all the other gold hardware that we have around the room. For example, the knobs on the dresser, they're gold, and this will tie in very well with everything else. Here I'm just putting everything together on this curtain rod, but later on I'll be able to steam these curtains and make sure that I take out all the wrinkles out of them. To this wall to the right of the curtains, I'll be installing two shelves here, and we'll be using these two shelves as display shelves. These shelves are 24 inches long, and I'll include a link in the description for them if you'd like to get them. And here you can see it comes with this piece that goes right in there. It comes with a tool, it comes with some hardware, and everything else that you need is in there. This black piece gets installed on the wall, and then you put your shelf right through those rods, and this is how the shelf actually stays up. So first we're going to choose a position where we want to install this black piece, and we're going to make our marks, but of course we're going to make sure that it's level. Then I can drill holes and install the anchors to secure this black piece to the wall. I'm now going to start my screws by hand on each side, and again you want to just throw a level on there before you tighten up the screws and make sure that it is level. Here I'm going to be installing the second shelf directly under the other shelf, and here I'm using a level to make sure that this lines up with the other shelf. Here on the back of the shelf, you're going to notice two holes, and you're also going to notice two holes in the bottom. And you're just going to slide this right onto those two rods there. Now we'll take two screws and secure it straight into those rods. Now our shelving is all ready to display anything that we want. It's time for the big reveal, and let's see how this room looks. Now first, when you first walk in, you're going to notice that we put a pink rug on the floor to match the decor. And here on the side, you're going to notice some wicker baskets. I'm going to include a link in the description if you guys want to go out there and get these type of wicker baskets, but we actually measured it and bought them to specifically fit under there. I'll also leave a link for the area rug as well. But I would like you guys to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about everything in this room, including the decor, the bed, the flooring, whatever it is. Here on the wall, I actually installed two hangers, and this is for robes or clothing, and of course, they are gold. My girls absolutely love their new bunk bed, and you can see why. They have all their stuffed animals in there, and you have a whole bunch of other storage to put clothes, to put whatever you want to put in them. And it has this anti-slip strip there, so it makes it nice and safe for them to go up and down on those stairs. We've got more storage drawers under the bed. We've got 2 display shelves there. We've got brand new curtains, brand new blinds, and this room feels fresh and rejuvenated. And of course, we've got a lot of dust control now with this type of LVP flooring. And my most favorite highlight in this entire room is this gold frame with my 2 daughters holding hands right in front of the lake. And it was my eldest daughter's birthday, and I'll never forget this. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel so you can continue to get more videos like this one. And I'll see you guys on the next one.